Hello and welcome back to another episode of FCC Fan TV. Today we're going to talk about the preseason match that was recently held down in Orlando against the Chicago Fire. Once again, Nick here with my co-host Cody.
What's going on,
All
guys?
right, Cody. So let's just jump right in here. We're going to kind of talk about three things, four things, maybe five things. We'll see how excited we get about this. Things we liked and didn't like from this match. So let's just start right off. What's one thing that you liked coming out of this preseason game?
Well, the one thing I liked is that we won.
Yep.
So we'll start with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice 2-1 win. Honestly, so one of the things we talked about in the first episode was how we and everyone else expected Zhao to start it right back, and we saw that. And honestly, I didn't think he played poor at all. I thought he had a pretty well overall game. A few mistakes here and there, which are going to happen. It's not his natural position. But I thought if that's the avenue we're going to go down, I thought he did a pretty good job in this first preseason match.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had that down here on my list in the good column. I really liked how he was getting forward, and I think one thing, speaking of things we noticed, was that when he received the ball from the right back, he didn't push down the wing with it. He was actually cutting more inside, and I think that played a lot more to his strengths. He was at the top of the box there, made some moves, kind of made some guys miss, and tried to play the short ball in to whoever's in the center, Brenner, Acosta, I think even Kubo once or twice, instead of trying to just peel off down that wing and make the long cross, which, as we kind of noted, that was not something that's a strength of his game. So playing in a different role, but also still able to capitalize on his strengths there was something I really like to see.
Yeah, 100%. So that was definitely Zhao was definitely a positive out of this game. Another one that I had was just Acosta in general. The goal was beautiful, but actually having a number 10 that played like a number 10 was a beautiful thing to see because we really haven't had that in our first few MLS seasons.
Yes, obviously the goal was fantastic, great, just vision, nice touches at the top of the box, and curled it right in. That's what we were missing all last year. Year before that, we haven't had anything like that probably since someone in USL that could bang in goals. My my man, my Manu. Probably the last time I saw
Yeah,
somebody go in with the left foot and bend one in like that.
I said with the
Yeah, with
left
the
foot.
it
Yeah,
was shades. Squint hard enough. Looks like Liddell's mouth there. Feel sad. But yes, so I think overall, but I also like to see his set pieces too. I think with Harris obviously not starting in this game, I was curious to see if he took them. I did not remember if he did those for DC United, but I really liked the height and kind of just the pace he put on. He whipped him in. Great head level. We almost got on. I think Hagelin almost got on one and put one wide at one point. Um, really just like to see just kind of the overall dimension. I also noted down here he made a couple nice turns under pressure, which is something we didn't have at all last year either. Just overall, exactly what we wanted to see out of our new attacking 10.
and kind of along those lines, the specific Acosta to Brenner connection. If this was our taste sample of the first time in any type of competitive match where they've played together, we're in for a fun season. They miscued a few times, but once again, first time they were ever kind of playing together. If that connection gets stronger throughout this season, we're gonna have a. I don't want to curse this. I'm not saying we're gonna have a great season. I'm saying we're gonna have a fun season.
I agree with that. For the first glimpses that we've had at it, it was just nice to see. They looked like they were getting on the same page. Maybe not necessarily there yet. A few things didn't come off, as you mentioned, but overall, definitely a positive. That connection too. So, okay, let me see. Let's go a little negative here. What was one thing you didn't like from this game?
Not to just point one person out, but just Kubo. And it's not that I didn't. I just thought he was non-existent, and I find that a lot with Kubo. I know he's in the midfield this game, but there's just nothing he does or even doesn't do that ever stands out to me. He's just literally on the pitch.
Yeah, every time I think he got the ball, I just wasn't thinking the attack was going to progress. The ball was going to move up the field. He always receives the ball with his back to, as you could say, the wings, the forwards, and he never really makes that turn. He just kind of gets it and plays it right back to where it came from. So he doesn't really do anything to sort of advance that. And it's kind of more of the same what we saw last year, even when he like started on the wing and came inside. He'd get the ball and just never really kind of do anything. He was just kind of just a human wall at that point. And yeah,
Just there.
and obviously we're looking for a little bit more from that number 8 position that he slotted into during this game. So yes, I had him down as negative. Bad seems mean because he didn't really make any mistakes, but he didn't
No.
do anything that I'm not sure if you slid Caleb Stanko at the 8, like when he came in the second half of the game, couldn't do for cheaper. So I
Yeah.
just don't think he was really able to do anything that made me think that he's an answer there. I'll be curious. I was curious to see that he got the start at the 8 there. That was one thing going in. If you want to kind of touch on another, I can go to one of my negatives here that I didn't really like and kind of plays into that. I would say kind of same position player competition, but mine was Kovacevic. He did a lot with the ball this game, but nothing ever really came of it. He kind of just really looked like a guy who was trying to make the roster to me, kind of working extremely hard, but maybe doing too much instead of, maybe playing a pass one step sooner, try to take a second guy on the dribble. Didn't really try to cross it too much, really just tried to create and show that energy, which was nice to see. Like, he looked like he wanted to be out there, wanted to do the right thing, and I think he was just pressing too much. And unfortunately, if we still have a lot of preseason left, but it wasn't really a strong case to really keep him here from his loan, especially with he takes up an international slot, and we already have that. Maybe not a lot of wingers on this roster, but a lot of players that can play that position. One, as we mentioned, Kubo, who I think might look more comfortable in that position. But I saw Kovacevic, like, while he tried to do a lot of things well, just nothing really came of it. And he kind of really was a net negative, I think, out there on the field.
I had the same negative. I don't think I was as hard, but the sentiment from us was the same. I almost wanted to say, like, I appreciate what he tried to do out there. It just wasn't, there was nothing there. And your point of him just looks like he's trying to make a team is exactly what it was. I felt like every time he touched the ball, it was like, okay, I'm going to take it from point A to point B and see what I can do with it instead of looking downfield. So yeah, maybe we'll see something different here in the future, but I was not impressed with game one.
No, and I would probably rate him if the whole roster at this point is healthy with what we think is going in. He'd probably be third string left wing, and I don't think you burn an international slot on him to be
Right.
your depth winger. I didn't really have it down as a positive or negative this game, but it was nice to see in the second half Calvin Harris get on the field, and he obviously would take up that international slot as even on that youth contract, the super draft pick. He's just is an England international, and will take that. And he showed, I think, more in his limited time. Obviously, he got the game-winning goal after he accidentally dummied it the first time right through. So it was nice to see him at least get to clean that up. But yeah, Kovacevic, a little bit of a negative overall for me. Not necessarily who I'd want to kind of keep around on the international slot on this roster. So, is there any? Would you have any other negatives?
One more, and it was more generic, and I really don't blame the team for this because the back line was kind of chopped up as it was, but the back line got exposed repeatedly throughout the match. Once again, we're talking Jow not in his natural position. You have Pedersen and Hagelin, which we could take as either or there. Bailey, and then who came in the second half at left back?
Edgar Castillo, the
Yeah,
trialist, played last with
yeah.
Atlanta United. Um,
So it was
mhm.
chopped up, but they just got exposed repeatedly. I don't really take it as a negative; it's more of a neutral.
Yeah, I
Um,
so
it,
kind of on that point, I had Pedersen down as a negative for me. Uh, he had a couple of flub clearances. The one he deflected that led to the goal. I noticed him repeatedly getting caught. There was at least once where he was ball watching and upright and rigid and got just beat by a runner that went right through his zone that he didn't see coming. So I kind of had him more down as a negative on the back line because I thought Zico did well. I don't remember any real mistakes that he made, and he made a couple of nice runs. I can look dangerous on set pieces again, and overall just competent through the air. And then Zhao, as you said, kind of out of position, not necessarily out of position at this point because that's where he's been playing, but
it's a new
Yes,
position.
and I think he did about as well as I expected. So I had a hard time rating him as a negative on the defense. So I think maybe Pedersen got stuck with the short end of the stick in my notebook. But when you deflect the ball back at the top of the 18 instead of clearing it, and the goal scores happened, and he kind of got beat another time through there. But that was a whole defensive issue. Kind of we realized last year, anytime someone was able to get it and cross the ball into the 18, it led to a goal a lot of the time. We didn't really track those sort of top of the box runners, which we could also talk about as a midfield issue. So just the defensive line still looked a bit shaky, but as you noted, a bunch of new players kind of out there together for really their first probably in-game reps. I don't think obviously that back four is obviously we've never seen them play together, and I'm not sure how much they have been in preseason even.
Yeah. But that was really it for my positive and negative. It's a preseason game, so we should have prefaced this with we're obviously not taking it that seriously.
No,
Um,
most serious. This is May.
we won.
Exactly, that's why it's serious. Everyone
Yeah.
knows.
But it's one preseason game, so we obviously can't look that much into it. I believe it's our only televised preseason game.
I'm not sure if the Orlando game tomorrow night is streamed. I'd have to double check on that one. I'm hoping it is because I plan on trying to watch it if it is. If not, I'd find it through somewhere. Someone's gonna have a
Yeah.
Periscope up.
So not to look too much into it, we just kind of wanted to pinpoint some things that we saw that were negative and positive. But we know it's just preseason. And yeah.
So, were there anything that maybe not positive, negative, but that you just kind of noticed or stood out to you from the match in general?
Not that we haven't really covered.
Okay. So I wanted to just kind of touch on one thing I noticed that was not necessarily good or bad, but we were definitely using the counter press a lot when we gave the ball up in the 18. It was nice to see like Brenner, Acosta, the wings kind of try to close people down and quickly, and the midfield also responded that way. And then, but then, kind of a negative side of it, which is I didn't know really which way to put it. It kind of got passed around pretty easily, but I think that can be attributed to something we're trying this year with new personnel, so we don't quite know the exact positioning we want to take out of it. And I think we'd be a little bit remiss if we wouldn't talk about how Kyle Scott looked when he came onto the field as a substitution for Acosta at halftime. I think he was one of the most impressive players to come out of this game in my book. Did you have any thoughts on how he looked?
He did look great, and to be honest, I kind of completely forgot that he came in.
Yeah, it was a little hard to handle with when you make that many changes. I didn't really have too many big notes from the second half. When you have guys coming on for 30-minute cameos, the whole rhythm of the game gets changed. So,
but in the mention of him, I am excited to see his playing time hopefully increase these next few preseason games. See what we have with him. But you're right. He did look good when he came on.
I'd like to see him get a little run out at the 8 against Orlando if that's possible. Kind of leads into one thing I think we need to mention here is that Frankie Amaya did not play in either half as a substitute or start the game. Came out today in, I believe, Jopstam's interview with just local media that he wasn't fully fit. So that was interesting to see considering he's been in camp and the USU 23 camp. So take that not fit as you will. Reads a bit maybe doghouse to me from a manager perspective. So with everything that went on this preseason that we touched on, so I'll be curious to watch that. Do you have any other notes on what came out of today in the press conference?
Look, yeah. So they did mention in the match that Lacadia had a knock. I don't think they specified what it was. It has come out since then that it was a thigh injury. I don't believe it's serious. I think it just was precautionary because it's preseason. Why risk it? So I think he should be fine. I don't know if he'll play in Orlando, but I'm hoping by game one of the season he should be fit. But that did come out that it was a thigh injury. Costa Rica did play today as well. Cruz started. Wasn't able to watch the match, but apparently he looked okay.
Yeah, I saw he picked up a yellow, kind of lowered his rating a bit, but from what the stats of that game looked possession wise, that Mexico kind of had the ball. What Mexico does on an international level.
I'm pretty sure Matarita came in off the bench as well, so
that's always good to see our guys who are caught up in the national team national teams actually get to get in and play there. So it's nice to see them playing and staying in game shape and not riding the bench in camp. So I'll be looking forward to have them back. Hopefully, I think this is probably the last international friendly of the break for the FIFA window. I think
Believe so.
hopefully they're back in camp and quarantined, and we get to see them at some point before preseason's over with our own two eyes. Anything else you want to touch on, or should we just?
No, we can wrap it up.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's quick hit episode. So we'll hopefully be able to try to come back later this week with some of the things we see out of the Orlando's preseason match. Hopefully, we're able to either to find a stream somewhere or at least get some details for you guys. We'll try to keep it go there. If it's on stream, you can check us out. We'll be probably tweeting along with the game as we did versus Chicago. That's at TV_FCC. Check us out there. And that'll do it for today, guys. Tune in next time.